2022 brought us dozens of comics, books, Disney Plus episodes, and more. There were a lot of stories to take in, and while my goal is always to be a completionist and to get to everything, something I definitely missed out on were the comics. The goal is to start catching back up on those, but with so many other stories being told on a weekly basis, it never felt necessary. No matter what kind of Star Wars you enjoy, there was something for you. Unless you're only here for the movies, in which case you got to rewatch the same 12 movies over and over again, while we all wait for some news on that. This list will be in no specific order ranking-wise, but I will be going by medium. Because I mentioned it at the start, while I didn't always stay up to date with the comics, I have been very focused on the High Republic and was staying up to date on all of those for a while. The main High Republic run was a fun weekly read that brings a lot to the table for the new era. It's far from a mandatory read, but it does give readers more time with the Jedi that were introduced in the novels, specifically Avar Kriss, Sskeer, and Keeve Trennis. The art for all of these issues are amazing, and it's also a very well-written series. I've only read the first 3 volumes though, so this is definitely one that I need to catch up on, as well as the new High Republic run for Phase 2 that started recently. Trail of Shadows was another comic that was part of Phase 1, and I absolutely loved this one. It's a 5-issue miniseries that focuses on a private investigator teaming up with a Jedi to look into Loden Greatstorm's death, and what could have had this effect on a nearby Jedi. I wouldn't say that the characters are a strong point of this one, but the mystery is captivating and it does a great job at tying into the novels while still adding loads of new information, stuff that has barely been mentioned in the novels. While I still wouldn't consider it a mandatory read, especially for the average fan, this is definitely a big addition to the era that I enjoyed reading every week. It's set right after the Rising Storm, and by the end of the 5 issues, it's tying directly into the Fallen Star, where the characters are actually present for the destruction of Starlight Beacon. While I haven't read many comics, this is one of my absolute favorites. Going into the books, there were a lot of stories released this year, so while I didn't enjoy some of them, there was still plenty to love. I just mentioned how Trail of Shadows ties into it, but even on its own, The Fallen Star is an incredible read that concludes the first phase of High Republic stories in a brilliant fashion. I was captivated the entire way through, and while some books can struggle with establishing stakes, there was an ever-present feeling of danger in this book. There are a lot of characters throughout, both familiar and not, so some of them were hard to care about at times, but there were also a select few that had my attention the entire time. Another favorite of mine is Brotherhood, which details what really happened on Cato Nemoidia during the Clone Wars. Obi-Wan Kenobi is the main character of it, but Anakin also gets a lot to do, and we see their relationship at a time we've never seen before, with the book taking place right after Anakin becomes a Jedi Knight, and both have to learn how to operate on their own again. There's a lot of great action and character development throughout, and being set in a familiar time period in the Clone Wars makes it very easy to understand while reading. Lastly, my favorite book of the year is a young adult novel that I never expected to enjoy as much as I did. Padawan focuses on Obi-Wan Kenobi as a Padawan as he goes off on a mission alone. And not only does this novel have some of the best character work I've ever read, it delves into the nature of the Force and what balance really means like we've never seen before. Other than Kenobi and the few other Jedi that we briefly see, there's a brand new cast of characters to grow with and learn to love, and there are even some ties to the High Republic if that's what you're looking for. If you're someone who rarely reads a Star Wars book, but wants to get into them more in the new year, I think this and Brotherhood are 2 great novels that the majority of fans can enjoy. Some more honorable mentions would be Shadow of the Sith and The Princess and the Scoundrel. They're both great reads that focus on legacy characters, but I just didn't enjoy them nearly on the same level as these books that I previously mentioned. While it didn't really have a story to it, LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga was well worth the wait, and if you've seen the videos coming out on this channel, I've enjoyed playing through it every week, sometimes for 20 minutes and sometimes for an hour. While the complete saga will always hold a special place in my heart, this is arguably the best LEGO game I've ever played, although some of the missions included and some that were left out did leave more to be desired. Now to the big one, television. We got a lot of stories this year through Disney Plus. The Book of Boba Fett, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Andor, Tales of the Jedi, and LEGO Star Wars Summer Vacation were the main ones. While there were parts of each series that I enjoyed a lot, it would take me much longer to go through and pick out specific episodes or moments that were my favorite. So for the sake of this video, I'll just be doing the series as a whole. While I think that the Obi-Wan Kenobi series could have been better, especially when it comes to production quality, it was still a blast to see Ewan and Hayden reunite on screen again. Having familiar characters like Obi-Wan and Vader return, and then seeing Leia meet Obi-Wan, brought me so many emotions, and every week I was always looking forward to seeing these characters. While there were scenes and episodes that I wasn't a fan of, the story and characters were so well crafted and developed, like Obi-Wan's character arc, or the variety of themes throughout the story. Production may not have been perfect due to the pandemic, but the story was a joy to watch the entire way through. Now, rather than have this section dominated by the live-action shows, I want to mix it up a bit with something that not many people seem to be talking about: the LEGO Star Wars Summer Vacation Special. I know these are for younger audiences, but so far I've loved all three that LEGO and Lucasfilm have put out. I grew up watching those LEGO Star Wars shorts or episodes, so for me these are fun to just relax and have some fun while watching. Even though this wasn't my favorite of the three LEGO specials so far, I still wanted to give it some love and include it on the video. The last story that I want to include is Tales of the Jedi, which I think is arguably my favorite story of the year. I've always been a huge animation person, with Clone Wars and Rebels being some of my favorite Star Wars stories period, and the animation in the series looked amazing, and the stories were great as well. I know the majority of people liked the Dooku episodes over Ahsoka's, but she's always been one of my favorite characters, so even though we didn't learn as much, I had a blast seeing her in animated form back on screen, and hearing her theme again from the Kinders just solidified my love for the series. I also enjoyed the Dooku ones, mainly because of how much we learned. I don't have as much of an emotional attachment to him, but he is one of the better villains in my opinion, so I liked getting some more of his backstory in these episodes. The themes for the entire series were also very relatable and important. Let me know what your favorite story from 2022 was in the comments below. Remember to like the video, and subscribe for a huge new slate of videos coming this year. And remember to follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. Thank you all for watching, and remember, the Force will be with you, always.